The monster next door. If you're listening to this late at night, I want you to do something first. Don't look toward your neighbor's house, just don't. Because monsters don't always knock. They don't scratch at windows, they don't announce themselves. Sometimes they borrow a mailbox, a driveway, a porch light that turns on at exactly the same time every night. My name is Evan Holloway, and on June 3rd, 2016, at 11:58 p.m., I realized the monster didn't live under my house. It lived next door. I lived at 14 Briarwood Lane, in a quiet town called Coldwater Ridge, Montana. Population just under 3,000. The kind of place where everyone waves. The kind of place where nothing ever really happens. My wife Lena and I moved there in April of 2016, chasing cheap rent and quieter nights. The house next door, 16 Briarwood Lane, had been empty for years, until the lights came on. It was the new neighbor. The moving truck arrived on May 29th. No company name, no license plate I recognized. Just one man, tall, thin, polite. He introduced himself as Mr. Calder, didn't give a first name, didn't offer a handshake, just smiled and said, "I won't bother you." He kept that promise. Too well. Mr. Calder had habits. Lights off at 9 p.m. sharp, porch light on at 11:45, kitchen light on at 12:02 a.m., every night, no exceptions, no guests, no sounds. Lena joked that he lived like a clock. I didn't joke back, because sometimes at night I could hear something heavy being dragged across his floor. Slowly, carefully, like it didn't want to wake anyone. First sign that something is wrong. On June 1st, our dog refused to go outside. She stood at the back door, shaking, staring at 16 Briarwood Lane, growling low in her throat, then whining, then hiding under the table. That night, I saw Mr. Calder standing in his backyard, just standing, facing our house, not moving. At 12:11 a.m., the smell came next, metallic, sweet, wrong. It drifted through open windows after midnight. Lena thought it was plumbing. I knew better, because I'd smelled it once before. At my father's funeral, I noticed the basement light one night. There had never been one before. A single bulb, always on, always flickering. Sometimes a shadow passed in front of it. Too tall, too narrow, moving in ways people don't. My first suspicion, a child. On June 3rd at 7:42 p.m., a child knocked on our door. A boy, no older than 8, barefoot. He asked if we'd seen his dad. I asked his name. He said, "I don't remember." When I pointed toward 16 Briarwood Lane, his face went pale. He whispered, "That's not my house." Then he ran, straight into the trees behind Mr. Calder's yard. That night, the dragging sound was louder, longer. And at 11:58 p.m., the porch light next door didn't turn on. Instead, every light in the house came on at once. And through the basement window, I saw something wave. After I saw something wave from the basement window, I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink much. I sat at the kitchen table until dawn, listening to the hum of our refrigerator and the occasional creak of our house settling. Every normal sound felt too loud, like it might carry next door. Morning came on June 4th, 2016, at 5:41 a.m. When the sun rose, 16 Briarwood Lane looked ordinary. No lights, no movement, no sign that anything had happened at all. That was my first lesson. Whatever lived next door didn't leave evidence behind. Later that morning, I walked to the corner store on Pine Street. I asked the cashier, Martha Klein, how long the house next to mine had been vacant. She froze, just for a second. Then she said, "Oh, someone's always lived there." I told her that wasn't possible. She smiled too quickly and said, "People come and go." When I mentioned Mr. Calder, her eyes flicked to the window. She whispered, "Don't use that name too loudly." I went to the Coldwater Ridge Sheriff's office that afternoon. Sheriff Paul Henriksen listened patiently while I explained the lights, the smells, the child, the basement window. He didn't take notes, he didn't interrupt. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "Mr. Holloway, has your neighbor harmed you?" I said no. He nodded. "Then my advice is this," he said quietly. "Lock your doors, mind your property line, and don't go looking for things you aren't prepared to live with." That was the moment I understood. They all knew. That night, June 5th, 11:47 p.m., Lena squeezed my hand. She was staring out the bedroom window. "He's in the yard," she whispered. Mr. Calder stood between our houses, his back to us. He was digging, slowly, methodically. Not deep, just enough. When he stopped, he tilted his head slightly, like he was listening. Then, without turning around, he raised one hand and pointed at our bedroom window as if acknowledging that we were watching. The dragging sounds changed after that. They became wet, layered, like more than one thing moving at once. The smell returned, stronger now, rot mixed with something chemical. Lena started sleeping on the couch. Our dog refused to enter the house at all. On June 7th, the basement light next door went out. Instead, I heard breathing, deep, labored, coming from beneath the ground. To unravel the truth, I finally spoke to Evelyn Ross, an old woman who lived at the end of the street. She invited me in and locked the door behind me. She told me Mr. Calder wasn't a man. Not really. She said Coldwater Ridge had always needed something to keep it safe. From fires, from disappearances, from things that wandered out of the forest. The town fed it what it needed. Lonely people, drifters, children no one would look for. In exchange, the town survived. That night, our doorbell rang at 12:03 a.m. I didn't answer. The bell rang again. Then came the knock, slow, deliberate. Mr. Calder's voice came through the door, calm and polite. "You've been very curious, Evan." I held my breath. He continued, "I don't like curiosity." We left at dawn. Didn't pack much. Didn't tell anyone. As we drove away, I looked back one last time. Mr. Calder stood on his porch, smiling. Behind him, the basement light flicked on. Something tall pressed against the window, waiting. We don't live there anymore. But sometimes, in quiet neighborhoods, when a house next door is too quiet, when the lights follow a schedule, when the town avoids your questions, remember this: monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they live right next door, and sometimes they notice when you're watching. Good night.